Okay, video number 3 for the section 3 question set. I'm going to take this I'm going to use the whiteboard. This is problem 3 on this question set. It's talking about drawing supply and demand, which was just a formality, but it's talking about the labor market. So one thing I'm going to use the whiteboard. It's just easier. One thing I'm going to go over about the labor market is, remember, this is an example of effects of changes in wages on structural unemployment, and it's structural because it's changes in the business structure. We use a supply and demand model to show this. Remember, price is always going to be on the Y, but this is now, we're going to just say it's going to be price of labor. And we're going to say this is the quantity of labor. So then, when we draw our two curves, we're just saying we have supply. I told you I'll do that from time to time. That is not supply. We have supply. This is the supply of labor by workers. And this is the workers. I'm going to take off the screen here. And then we have the demand of labor. And this is the demand of businesses, and this is the demand, the jobs, basically, job openings. So businesses demand jobs, demand workers, workers supply labor. So what we're going to look at here is we're going to look at our equilibrium. So we're going to go ahead and label the current equilibrium in the economy. So if once we draw this, we say there's an equilibrium. Let's go ahead and say at $7 is the example I used in class. We have an equilibrium. So I'm just going to label that QE because I'm going to say that's our equilibrium. We have an equilibrium of quantity of labor. So we have an equilibrium set of workers, a number of workers who are willing to work for $7, and that's actually the market clearing price because there's no more people willing to work who don't yet have jobs. So we have an unemployment rate of 0. At equilibrium here, in this graph, we have no unemployment, because everyone who wants a job is working because they'll supply labor at $7. No more labor is demanded. We're at a perfect equilibrium. Now, we then either can set a minimum wage or unions can negotiate a higher wage, and both are going to be shown the same way. So let's say we set a minimum wage of $10. We say people need to eat. We need to set a new minimum wage of $10. That new minimum wage is then going to set a new price in the market. So remember, this shifts, the change in price shifts quantity demanded and quantity supplied. So when we look here, you need to just show the points in which this new minimum wage, this new price, intersects supply and demand. So when we're at this price of $10, the demand of jobs has now dropped, and we'll call that drop Q1. And the supply of jobs, the number of workers, has now risen, and we'll call that new number Q2. So now we have a difference between jobs that businesses are willing to provide, which is the demand of labor, job openings, and supply of labor at $10. So now we have a surplus of workers. We have people who are willing to work that don't have a job, and anyone that's willing to work that doesn't have a job, we call unemployed. So this surplus represents unemployment. So I'm going to put some numbers to make sense of this. Let's say at $7 we had 1,000 workers. Actually, let me see, 10,000. Okay, let's say this change in minimum wage now led there to be 12,000 people willing to work. So now we have 12,000 people in the labor force. These are 12,000 people that are willing to work. When we have 12,000 people now in the labor force, but we only have, let's say, 8,000 of them. So I just made up these numbers. This is 12, this is 8. We have 8,000 that are actually employed. That means we have unemployed of people willing to work without a job, which is going to be 4,000. which shows then we have an unemployment rate of 4,000 over the labor force, which we're going to do in the next video, which would be a terrible 33%. So that's just showing how changes in price level, changes in minimum wage, not price level, changes in price of labor can affect the labor market and can lead to unemployment in this case. For the test, you will only need to know this upward movement of price. The downward movement of price isn't really relevant to the discussion. And this would all fall under structural unemployment. Again, this is problem 3. Problem 3 on this worksheet.